Okay.
We need to speak about your experience in some Eastern Europe countries when we speak about this sports infrastructure. What are the main common challenges when we speak about this investment?
I think when you're looking at sports stadiums, I think historically the majority of the arenas have typically been in all parts of cities, and I think when you're talking about improving the infrastructure around them, there's a lot of restrictions on that, because you've got a single-owned asset in the middle of a city, and then around it is privately owned buildings. So in terms of trying to improve the immediate area is very, very difficult at times. It's a lot easier when, and we've seen this in a number of Western countries, when old sports stadia have actually closed down in prime city areas and relocated them out of the city. I've seen that in the UK happen a lot of times. It's happened in Germany recently, where the government will actually subsidise people investing in land outside of the centres and looking at redeveloping those more central locations. The big question is with that is what you're actually doing with that original stadium. What do you do with it? If you're just going to sell a stadium that's in a prime area of a city and sell it to a residential developer, now that's not really improving the environment of a city. What the trick is to try and work with the municipalities and work with the governments in order to, if you are relocating that, to provide planning permission on that original site to bring something that will benefit the country or benefit the city.
So moving stadiums are a very tricky business.
Yeah,
you can destroy the area, leave it without some
of course,
issue.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always it's always the question is it in the public interest to do it? Because if you look at Arsenal, what they did in London, they relocated from Highbury to the new stadium at the Emirates. Now the move from Highbury and a lot of the costs associated with moving to the Emirates was covered by the sale of Highbury to a residential developer. There's no argument there that was in the interests of the community, because it wasn't. It was a purely financial decision to move to a bigger stadium in a brownfield rundown area and relocate to that, and they made a lot of money selling that. But it's all financially based. It's all about, at the end of the day, it all comes down to finances. If the alternative use of a site is always going to be residential or leisure or hotel, now this is the question: is that in the public interest to do that? Do the government, do the municipalities, should they be involved in trying to relocate sports stadia when the option on that land is not really in the public interest? It's a purely financial decision of the sport company or whoever owns the stadium in the start.
You're now in Serbia for 7 days, and Serbia is obviously a country with long sports tradition. How do you see possibility of developing economically sustainable sports infrastructure, especially in football as the main?
Yeah, okay.
Here, how do you see this development in following years? Because all our stadiums are on the lower edge of disqualifying from European competitions, because Partizan is built 1949, Red Star 1961. So we are speaking about socialist infrastructure that are unsustainable. How do you see potential of Serbian real estate market to develop something really sustainable, incorporated in these stadiums?
Well, I think you've got to look at countries like the Czech Republic, like what's happened in Prague and what's happened even in Poland. In Prague, for instance, they had a very similar situation with Slavia and Sparta in very old stadiums. And then Slavia have now relocated to a brand new stadium, which is now the national stadium. So it's all about providing a national stadium and then having shared grounds between clubs. Now, you've always got a lot of problems with sharing grounds with football teams, but if, like you say, that the stadiums are in such a bad situation here, And with Serbia having such a strong sporting history, you know, it makes sense for there to be a national centrepiece stadium, rather than, you know, rather than refurbishing and trying to improve these old stadiums, which can often be more expensive to do anyway, to actually look at finding an alternative use for them and then finding a new site for a new national stadium. And when you bring that in, you bring in a national stadium, you know, it doesn't have to be in a central area. You can do it on the outskirts of a city, and it can create a whole new urban area. You know, you can, on the back of that, you can get large residential areas around it. You can put offices. You can put, you know, lots of retail, similar to what's happening in London with the Olympics. You know, you look at what they're doing now with Greenwich and the East End, which historically has been a poor area to be, and it's been a disused area for years. And what they're doing now is that whole area is sporting, but it's also a huge urban area of shopping, of leisure. And then you see what's happened there. You know, West Ham United have moved from their old stadium in the East End of London. Now that's their new stadium. So it's created a new area to redevelop in an area with demand. And people are moving out. And, you know, I think gone are the days that sport has to be right in the city centre. You know, it's a destination of people going to see it. And I think if there was a big new stadium in a new area within the city, people would want to go there and be comfortable there rather than sitting or standing in these ugly old stadiums. You know, I relocated here from Sofia, and it's exactly the same there as well. It's old stadiums and a not particularly enjoyable experience of going to visit them.
Thank you.